behavior behind the badge, and it's all caught on camera. Tonight, it's costing a Phoenix police officer his job. ABC 15's Brian Webb is live to show us more of the footage and what this cop was up to. Brian, this guy knew he was being recorded.
Right. He volunteered to wear a camera on his uniform and even at one point said the media should request this video to see what it's really like out on the streets. So we did, and here it is.
He looks like another MMI student who's about to forfeit his money and get kicked out of school.
Call it the greatest hits of a cop behaving badly, not only responding to calls, but insulting people along the way.
Turn around and look at me.
What?
Because I'm talking to you, you piece of shit. Now get the over here.
From an African-American man he just pulled over.
Do you have a license? Be honest, I would be surprised if you did.
To a young couple connected to a domestic violence call.
I got one tool. That tool is to beat people up and take them to jail, okay?
The man behind the camera is Officer Richard Greco. Out of 200 videos, these are just a few of the episodes of questionable behavior under his belt, coming from a camera attached to his shirt.
Do you feel that it's appropriate when you're talking to a domestic violence situation, or there's possibly an assault that's going on, that you're talking about beating the crap out of people and taking them to jail?
I've never looked at it from that perspective. You know, if you put it like that, you know, it could sound bad.
But I got to take care of this guy.
The department got wind of it and launched an internal investigation where Greco defended himself, saying sometimes when you protect and serve, you may hurt a few feelings in the process.
There's more than 200, and we're here to talk about, like, if you strung them all together, maybe 4 minutes of conversation for me over 210 videos. So I clearly don't use that tactic all the time.
Officer Greco appealed his termination, but a review board recently upheld it, so he is no longer wearing a badge. Steve?
Yeah, I think people expect professional behavior all the time.
Right.
Thank you, Brian.
Right.
Now to an apparently growing problem with those we trust with enforcing our laws. Out-of-control cops behind the wheel. And now the latest dash cam video capturing a state trooper busting a Miami police officer weaving in and out of traffic at, get this, 120 miles an hour on a busy highway. That officer has now lost his job. And John Shriffen is here with the details. This happens more often than we think, John.
It is pretty alarming. Bianca, good morning. That officer reportedly made $52,000 a year to protect and serve the people of Miami. But instead, he used his police car so he could repeatedly speed to another job. Now, he would have gotten away with it had it not been for an aggressive highway patrol officer and her dashboard camera catching him in the act. This is not your typical speeding offender. That's a squad car clocking 120 miles per hour. Behind the wheel, an off-duty officer, and he's about to get busted.
Put your hands out the window!
At gunpoint, Florida Highway Patrol arrested Miami police officer Fausto Lopez for speeding back in October.
Turn around!
After this video went viral, an investigation was launched, and authorities found Lopez was a habitual offender. He was fired, charged with reckless driving. Believe it or not, this is more common than you may think. Back in March, 2 cops in Claremont, Florida were fired after leading another officer on a high-speed chase.
Wow, he's doing over 90.
Once pulled over, Officer Mark Thompson started laughing hysterically, slapping his knees, claiming it was all a prank. Later that same month, 2 officers were relieved of duty after this video on YouTube caught them carelessly careening down a sandy stretch on Miami Beach, even going airborne.
It is a serious problem. Speed kills, and it doesn't differentiate between whether you're a citizen or you're a police officer.
According to the Orlando Sentinel, in Florida alone, there are 7,400 patrol car crashes annually that injure 2,400 people.
The average citizen, sees a police car going by. They don't know whether they're responding to a legitimate call or whether they're speeding because they're going home late or getting to a second job.
Officer Lopez was speeding to his off-duty job at a private school, which eventually cost him his real one. Lopez now has the option to appeal his firing, but get this, according to the Sun Sentinel, should he move on and try to get a job at another police department, this would not come up on his record. That's because habitual speeding is not a reportable violation, Dana Bianca.
Didn't know that.
Although, yeah, if they Google him, they may find out. Yeah.
I think he's out there now.
If they watch this video,
yes,
right.
Exactly.
Well, now to a startling caught-on-camera story revealing what some police officers are really doing on the job. Brand new video just released from an investigation, and it shows police officers slacking off, shirking duty, even ignoring urgent calls. ABC's John Schriffen has the details.
5-month-old not alert.
When the call comes in to help an unconscious 5-month-old, this on-duty Miami-Dade police officer is supposed to spring into action.
That shows 341.
But this newly released hidden camera video shows the officer doesn't even budge from his seat. What's more, that's his supervisor sitting right next to him.
The idea of not going to a call, honestly, just never crosses your mind. That's not so much about being a bad cop. That's about being a bad human being.
According to an internal police investigation launched in 2010, just hours earlier, the same officer ignored an armed robbery in progress.
I'm in the area, and I'll advise when I get to the residence.
But instead of lending a hand at the scene, he has his arms wrapped around his girlfriend, who allegedly met him on the job on numerous occasions. Over the course of 2 years, 5 officers and a sergeant were secretly watched while on the clock, taking care of other business, like shopping at Target and visiting family outside of the district.
What's troubling is that really basically they're taking advantage of their own officers. Not only are they not providing services to the residents, they're making other officers do their work for them.
2 officers and the sergeant have now been fired. The other 3 suspended. We reached out to the officers and heard back from the one seen here kissing his girlfriend. He has no comment. But all 3 who were stripped of their badges are appealing to get their jobs back. For Good Morning America, John Schriffen, ABC News, Miami.
Goodness, we know that there are police officers on the job actually doing their job, too. Unfortunately, to pick up their slack, but we know there are a lot of good ones out there.
We sure do.
We've learned that APD Chief Ray Schultz has fired 2 of his officers captured on video kicking and punching a suspect who was on the ground. The video shows one officer kicking the suspected car thief, who's also a white supremacist, up to 12 times, while his partner held the man down. News 13's Crystal Gutierrez is in the Newsplex with details.
Dick, the video was released to us today. In February, both officers got into a foot chase with the wanted criminal, but what they did when the suspect was lying on the ground is what was questioned. A security camera set up in a hotel parking garage to catch criminals captures what some call excessive force by 2 police officers in February. The video shows a suspect tackled to the ground. The city confirms Officer Robert Woolover is the one kneeling over him, striking a blow to his side. Then his partner, Officer John Doyle, runs into frame, delivering the first kick, then another. Around kick number 5, the suspect's left hand is seen covering his head. The officer delivers around 12 kicks total. After all of this, some say the video shows the officers celebrating after putting Nicholas Bloom in handcuffs. This was Bloom's mugshot hours after the arrest was made. Among his charges, auto theft. The chief of police said months ago the officer's actions rose to felony level. Yesterday, a disciplinary hearing was held. Today, sources tell us both officers were fired. Doyle's attorney says it's a bad call.
I think this is more political than anything.
Attorney John D'Amato does not believe this was excessive force, first saying Bloom was a dangerous man and Doyle knew about it.
His criminal history, his history with police of battering police, running from police, being armed, being a threat to the Southeast Sites Area Command.
D'Amato added, while the video shows the suspect's left hand, the suspect's right hand was tucked under his body.
The right hand could reasonably have contained a firearm.
He says Doyle's kicks were distraction techniques taught to officers.
It could have been 36 kicks. It could have been 1 kick, he could have pulled his right hand out, got handcuffed, and it would have been over.
And what about this? Celebration? D'Amato says no.
What do they do here?
They give each other a hug. You're going to be okay.
Now, police did not know if Bloom had a gun on him, but they suspected it. Turns out he didn't have a gun on him, but there was one in the stolen pickup truck he crashed and abandoned during the chase. Back to you.
All right, Crystal, on the night of his arrest, Bloom was wanted on 11 felony charges, including kidnapping and armed robbery. APD says Chief Schultz was not available to talk today about the firings.
Stephen, the Action News investigators first exposed details of this investigation back in December. Tonight we're breaking new ground with something even the police don't have. These guys accused of being rogue cops were actually caught on tape during a drug raid. We've got the recording, and it's not flattering for one of the cops who's now facing criminal charges. You're watching a performance by a rock band called One, Others Not Equal. But this story isn't about heavy metal. It's about allegations of heavy-handed and unprofessional police tactics. The lead singer, Rudy Simpson, says he was a victim of these tactics in a drug raid at his home. It all centers around this man, State Police Lieutenant Luke Davis, who's now facing corruption charges. In June of 2008, the Omni Drug Task Force, headed by Lieutenant Davis, executed a search warrant on Rudy Simpson's Monroe County home. They based the search on an anonymous tip and a marijuana stem they said they found in the garbage. When the cops came in, Rudy's band was practicing in this basement recording studio. What the police didn't know is that the microphones were hot and everything was being recorded. Take a listen.
Hope they're not mixing.
But they were mixing, and two cops take turns singing on the mic, not knowing the whole thing is being recorded.
I love rock and roll. Looking back on the memory.
While those cops were in the basement, Rudy, his friend Jeremy, and members of the band were taken upstairs, where Lieutenant Davis and other task force members were searching the house. They were shocked by the behavior of the police.
Very unprofessional, almost thuggish. I felt violated and almost like if it was a game to them.
Going into kitchen cabinets, eating cookies, and going in the refrigerator, eating stuff out of the refrigerator. It was very unprofessional.
And it wasn't exactly a big drug haul for the cops either.
Quarter ounce in the bag.
They found a quarter ounce of marijuana, 12 small seedlings in a pot they claimed were marijuana, and a half a pain pill that Rudy later produced a prescription for. These guys say the police seemed more interested in Rudy's stuff than they were in the drugs they found.
Basically what I heard them talking about was what equipment, what materialistic stuff could they take out of my house. It seems like, yeah, that they were just trying to figure out what they could come out of here with.
And now, hear it for yourself, caught on the band's equipment that the cops don't know was recording.
What do you think about this?
Well, we kicked a bunch of moves, right? I don't know, where are we at? I mean, that's Luke's call, not mine. I was just trying to get you paid on our lunch. Yeah, well, Luke comes down here and don't want to take care of everything. Band, he's going to say that quarter ounce, at least a quarter ounce there. He's going to give us a chance to freaking take all this stuff, so according to Luke. Hey, what do you want to take in the basement? You want to take the drums and all that or no?
The police wound up taking 3 pages worth of stuff from the house, including some of Rudy's personal property, a 52-inch flat-screen TV, a DVD player, 2 computers, a camera, and a bunch of DVDs. Under the law, police are only supposed to confiscate property that was purchased with money earned from drug sales. Rudy admits he was smoking pot, but what evidence did they have that he was selling drugs?
There was none. There was no sales. There was no undercover cops. There was nothing on paper. It was basically an anonymous tip, they said.
The Luke Davis corruption charges raise serious questions, not only about the conduct of police officers, but also about Michigan's drug forfeiture laws. This report from a group called the Institute for Justice, Policing for Profit, rates all the states for their forfeiture laws. Michigan gets a D-. In Michigan, in a drug raid, they can take your property just with probable cause. In a lot of states, the burden is a lot higher, proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
What drives a lot of the forfeiture abuse in Michigan is the fact that under state law enforcement is entitled to keep 100% of all the property that they seize.
In Michigan, they can even take your property without charging you with a crime. And I've learned that's what investigators are alleging happened in the Luke Davis case. Rudy Simpson was charged for the marijuana and a half a pain pill, even though he had a prescription for the pain pill. Simpson had another marijuana charge from 10 years earlier, and he says the prosecutor was playing hardball.
You either take the charge for the half Loracet from the prescription I had, or we're going to hit you as habitual, and you're looking at prison time for a quarter ounce of weed.
Rudy Simpson says he had no choice. He pled guilty and did some time in a halfway house. He says he decided to come forward and tell his story to Channel 7 after seeing our investigation on Luke Davis back in December. Rudy Simpson claims the Omni Narcotics crew also took $400 cash and a gold ring that was never even listed on the search warrant return. That allegation was denied by the prosecutor in court records.
Where was the stuff they were taking going?
Well, according to the charges that came down today, Luke Davis's friend was holding sales, selling this stuff, and then they were splitting the proceeds.
Garage
That's
sales.
what they're saying, yeah, and it's supposed to be going into the police department to fight drugs and into the prosecutor's office. And we'll see what happens when this case goes to court.
You continue to follow it, and we'll be ready for your reports. Thank you so much, Scott.
Oh my God! This is discrimination!
A Fort Myers family accusing 2 Lee County deputies of using excessive force, one even pulling out his weapon in front of several small children, and it's all caught on camera. Tonight, we're learning one of them had faced similar accusations before. Foreign Reporter investigator Mike Mason digging into this one to let you decide if the deputies went too far.
In a Fox 4 investigation earlier this year, 7 customers of a gay bar in Fort Myers claimed Deputy Scott Hill charged them with his gun drawn for no reason, and he even tasered a handicapped man. Tonight he's accused of using excessive force again.
I remember the video every day. You know, okay.
Ada Matias breaking down each time she watches this video showing a Lee County deputy pointing his weapon at her family.
Oh my God!
And arresting her teenage daughter. It happened last year on July 31st when Matias was having a party at her home in East Fort Myers. Cameras were rolling when the good time took a horrible turn, ending with the arrest of Ada, her husband, and her teenage daughter. A sheriff's office report shows Deputy Scott Hill was on patrol when he noticed 4 Hispanic males drinking beer next to Ada's home, under the no loitering sign on the side of this convenience store. Reports show Hill then arrested the 4 men for having open containers. One of them was Ada's husband. That's when Ada walked outside to find out why he was being arrested.
What is the problem?
According to police reports, the deputy says there were 30 to 35 people in the yard. Ada Matias confronted me and started yelling in Spanish. It was obvious that Matias was trying to incite a riot among the gathering people and refusing my lawful commands to leave the area. Hill then called for backup, and Deputy Kenneth Sherman arrived, and that's when things really heated up. Video shows Ada's 10-year-old daughter going to the cruiser to see her father. Deputy Sherman then grabs her arm and pulls her away. When the girl runs back again, Deputy Hill pulls out a weapon in front of small children. Deputy Hill then approaches Ada's 14-year-old daughter with a pair of handcuffs. As he grabs her wrist, the girl takes a swing at Deputy Hill, and that's when Deputy Sherman takes her to the ground and she's arrested. 2 small children try to approach their sister, but are pushed away. In Deputy Hill's report, he writes, the 14-year-old girl raised her fist and struck him in the arm and chest multiple times before she was restrained by Deputy Sherman. But that's not what the video shows. You can clearly see the girl taking one swing at Deputy Hill, and she misses. We also asked the girl about this directly. The deputy says that you swung at him multiple times. Is that true?
No, it's not.
The teen was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting an officer with violence. Miami attorney John DeLeon is fighting to get those charges dismissed.
It just seems completely way out of bounds to point the guns at children who, while they're investigating, a misdemeanor drinking in public. And this is what leads to people tragically getting shot.
We asked the Lee County Sheriff's Office about what happened. They say Deputy Hill was pointing his taser, which looks similar to a handgun. They also say Deputy Hill had every right to draw his weapon because he felt Ada Matias was inciting a riot and his life was in danger. But we found this is not the first time Deputy Scott Hill has been accused of using excessive force. On January 7th, customers at a Fort Myers gay bar called the Office Pub say Hill and another deputy charged them in the parking lot with their guns drawn.
They were charged at us with their guns drawn and their flashlights on us and said, get on your knees. And we didn't move to get on our knees right away, so then they said, get on your knees. We will shoot you.
At the time, Deputy Hill was serving a warrant next door at Babe's Gentlemen's Club when he claims hearing gunshots coming from the area of the Office Pub. But customers say the sound wasn't from a gun, it was actually a car door being slammed. Reports show deputies ordered all 7 customers to the ground, but Robert Ortiz is handicapped and couldn't comply, so Deputy Hill shot him with a taser. Ortiz remembers what he told Hill.
I can't put my arms up, I got to talk. Well, I'm like this, and there's nothing there.
And he says, you get on your knees now. And I said, I can't. And he fires his taser at me.
The Lee County Sheriff's Office investigated the bar customer's complaints and determined there was no evidence to prove the officers did anything wrong. In this most recent case, the Sheriff's Office says no one filed a complaint against the two deputies, so the Sheriff's Office did not investigate. Ada Matias says charges against her were dropped, and now she wants the same for her daughter.
I don't know what happened this day, but me only pray for my God.
Attorney John DeLeon is set to take depositions in this case next week and says if charges against the teen are not dropped, he will go to trial. In the studio, Mike Mason, Fox 4 in your corner.
We're working the latest developments now in the case of a Lincoln police officer on trial for allegedly assaulting a handcuffed woman. The shocking surveillance video of the alleged assault was revealed in court yesterday during the first day of trial, and now the defense insists the suspended officer acted in self-defense. But prosecutors claim he was never in any danger. Eyewitness News reporter Sean Daly is live outside of Superior Court with the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
Potentially damaging testimony today here at Superior Court in Providence against a suspended Lincoln police officer accused of brutality. It's a stunning moment. This is video from a security camera shot back in May of '09 outside the Twin River Slot Parlor in Lincoln. Prosecutors say it shows suspended Lincoln patrolman Edward Krawitz kicking Donna Levesque in the head hard after she tried to kick him. She was sitting on a curb in handcuffs outside Twin River after the police took her out of a bar inside where the police say her behavior was, quote, intoxicated, angry, and belligerent. The police were waiting for a cruiser to drive Donna Levesque to the Lincoln police station where she would be charged with disorderly conduct. Today, a police officer on the scene that evening testified that Patrolman Krawitz never expressed concern for his own safety.
Did he in any way indicate to you that he felt he was in danger of serious bodily injury?
No. In his written account of the incident, Patrolman Krawitz said he used force, quote, to avoid getting kicked again. But prosecutors believe Officer Krawitz's actions speak louder than his words.
After the defendant kicked Donna Levesque in the head, which caused her to fall to her side, what did you see the defendant do?
Nothing.
Did he move to shackle her legs?
No. Another Lincoln police officer also testified in this brutality trial today. The focus, other options that were available short of kicking a handcuffed woman in the head. That's new at 6. Live at Superior Court in Providence with the Mobile Newsroom. Sean Daly, Eyewitness News.
I've hit a pickle, oink, 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 oink.